Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review. This movie is a horror film from the USA, English language, released in the year 2018, directed by Boaz Yakin, and this film is called Boarding School. So Boarding School is about this young boy who's had a very troubled life. A few years previous, his father passed away, and since then the mother had met a new man. So the new man, the stepfather, this boy doesn't really get along too much, but the family are trying to cope with things and trying to help this boy with his problems. And so his problems range from being bullied at school, getting into fights, and having nightmares every single evening, and having to sleep with a light on. And so this is having a toll on the parents, especially the mother, and it comes to the point where they send him away to a boarding school that can actually care for the people such as this young boy and basically teach him along the way. And so the mother hopes that she's doing the right thing, and when she sends this kid to the boarding school, the child realizes that there's only 2 adults at this school and only 6 other students. So it's very strange. It's not like your normal boarding school, but he initially doesn't think anything bad of it until he starts uncovering the truth surrounding this school and the very sinister agenda that these 2 adults actually have. So whether or not the boy is onto something and in fact each and every one of these students is in danger, or whether or not it's just his paranoia, is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Boarding School. Boaz Yakin is actually a very well-established director, and so for that, expectations were fairly high. But the good thing about this experience was that I'm not really familiar with Boaz Yakin's work. And so, yes, you do hear around the grapevine that he is a very good director, but when you don't have anything to base your expectations on, that can be a very good thing. Is that I think it's a little bit unfair when a director has such a reputation, and that if you actually see a movie that's fairly decent, but because it doesn't raise up to the exceptional levels that his previous work is, you can kind of dismiss it as a bad film. And so that is basically the curse of being a great director, is that okay, you do have that reputation, you do have that standard, but when a movie doesn't hit you with the high amazing quality that his other films do, as I said, you can you feel a little bit disappointed, and that is actually a problem. But I will say that okay, Boaz Yakin is supposed to be a very good director, but because I'm not really familiar too much, I was willing to give Boarding School every chance to impress me. And so when I saw the trailer, I thought, all right, this actually looks like a caricature kind of horror film. This looks like a horror film that is based on a campfire story. Stonehurst Asylum, which is another horror film, I thought that was a prime example of what a campfire horror story is. And campfire horror stories are supposed to be fun, and I think Stonehurst Asylum was a lot of fun. And so I thought Boarding School, after seeing the trailer, this was the same sort of thing. It was a campfire horror story. It was a horror story that wasn't taking itself too seriously, and that it was going to be a very fun experience. But based on the fact that Boaz Yakin is such a well-established director, was I going to get something a little bit extra? And so the anticipation that was there, the curiosity was there, and after seeing Boarding School, I will say that yes, this movie has a lot more depth than you'd initially think. Yes, it does have that campfire entertaining horror story aspect to it, but it also has a very cautionary tale, and it's a tale about what each and every one of us go through in life, whether it's basically bullying, the effects of bullying, the effects of losing a loved one, and the traumatized sort of aspect that losing a loved one can actually bring, the problems of a very dysfunctional family, the problems of actually realizing who you are as a person, basically the self-awareness as a person, and the ramifications that not being self-aware can actually bring, and also basically the fact of banding together, being an outcast, being someone who's very unique, and that the misunderstanding that society has, basically generalization, that if you're a different kind of person, you're a freak, and so you don't belong there, and so it's kind of like them versus the rest of the world. And so that's something that a lot of people can relate to, is that if you don't feel like you're understood. And so Boarding School takes those aspects, but as I said, it molds it in very well with that campfire horror story aspect. I thought this was actually a fairly entertaining experience, and it's an experience that was a lot more violent than I thought, and it was a lot more darker than I thought. This is a very dark experience based on the fact that this main character is going through so much at such a young age, and that when you consider, when you look at a child, you think childhood, these are the best moments of your life. These are moments where you can be immature, you can let your hair down, you can be silly, and so this is all a part of growing up. But some people, some children don't have that opportunity, and this main character is definitely that sort of character, is that he lost his father, is that he's the stepfather, this kid is having problems, he's having nightmares, and the parents basically just shift him off to a boarding school, is basically saying, if you're getting too difficult, we can't handle you, we're going to give you to someone that can. And so it's basically a story that, as I said, a lot of people can relate to, is that if you've had that upbringing, you will have some relatability to this film, so it does give you a little bit of humanity within that campfire horror story. And that's what I liked about it the most, is that, okay, this is very entertaining, this is a mystery kind of horror film, is what's going on at this school, but at the same time you have that relatability that makes it a little bit more than just a dumb sort of fun horror film. And so that was something that I'm sure a lot of people are going to enjoy, and that is complemented very well by some very, very good visuals. I thought the visuals are very haunting. It's a very gothic style of film. I thought the characters were exaggerated, especially the adults, were exaggerated to a point where I thought, alright, well, this is what fun horror is all about. And so you got the acting performances. The actor who played the main character, I thought, did an okay job, although some lines that I thought were delivered were a little bit off, and I thought the script could have been a little bit better, but the young actors actually do a fairly decent job at actually portraying the characters that they are trying to portray and how damaged these people are. And so I thought it was a case of, as I said, the innocence of children versus the corruption of adulthood and how difficult that can be. I thought the soundtrack was actually quite decent, and I thought the ending was great. The ending was just something I wasn't really expecting, and I just thought it capped off a film that was actually a lot better than I was actually anticipating it to be. I was anticipating a very entertaining film, but what I wasn't anticipating was an entertaining film with a little bit of quality and a little bit of soul to it that actually gives that entertaining quality a lot more purpose. And so if you are a fan of this type of film, if you're a fan of films such as Stonehurst Asylum, I would highly recommend you check out Boarding School. I thought it was actually quite a decent way to spend 107 minutes. So if it sounds like your kind of thing, check it out. I'm going to give Boarding School 3.5 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you there.